Good morning, guys. I wanted to go over this 7.1 assignment with you guys. Share. All right, so I'm going to pull up the answer key just so we can kind of I'm going to walk you through it. And then I'll also pull up the whiteboard to kind of go through it with you guys. So how much interest would you earn on a $1,500 investment at 7% for 3 years? Some of you guys are not using the right formula for this. This is just the plain old simple interest formula. Some of you are giving me the total amount instead of the interest. So you're taking this 315 and you're adding it to the 1500. When it asks you for the amount of interest, I only want this 315. So you take your 1500, which is your P, your rate, which is 0.07, which is your R, and our time here is in years, and which is 3. And we multiply these together and you get your 315. Okay. The next question, what would your future value of an account be if you started with 300 at 4% for 8 months? If you look in your book at 7.1, there is a future value for simple interest formula, which is this A equals P times parentheses 1 plus R times T. Again, T is in years here, okay? So a lot of you missed this question because you did not do, when it gives you months and your time is in years, how many months are in a year? There's 12 months in a year. So you have to do this 8 out of 12 when you do this. Now, you need to be very careful how you enter this in the calculator. When you enter this in the calculator, you need to use your order of operations. Please excuse my dear Aunt Sally, PEMDAS, right? So, I'm going to write that up here. Please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. So when you are doing this, you do the parentheses first. And in your parentheses, we're going to do multiplication first. So I'm going to go ahead and put this 8 out of 12 in the calculator. Okay, you put 8 out of 12 in the calculator. And then you're going to multiply that by 0.04. Then you add the 1. And then the last step would be to multiply by the 300. And you end up with 308, okay? Number 3, what would your final amount be if you're compounded, see that word compounded, quarterly at 3% for 2 years? So you're going to use your compound formula. And you plug it in just like this. Let me use my eraser. So when you do your compound formula, and there should be a plus sign right here. Okay, so when we put in our information for our compound, we use this formula, A equals P times 1 plus R over N to the NT. There should be a T right there. So when you plug this in the calculator, you need to be very careful again. You're going to still use your order of operations. Your rate, 3%, we change to a decimal. So we move the decimal 2 places to the left. That's going to give you 0.03. Quarterly means 4 times a year. So that goes on the bottom and it goes up here to the top. And we're going for 2 years. So that would be 4 times 2. When you plug this in the calculator, again, you're going to start here first, then add the 1, you do the parentheses first, then exponent, so you'll raise it to the 4 times 2, which is 8. And then the last thing you'll do is multiply it by 4,000. So 0.03 divided by 4, you get 0.0075. You add the 1, you get 1.0075. Then you raise it to the 8th power, and then the last thing you'll do is multiply it by 4,000. And you get this 426.40. Okay. If number 4, if you deposit $500 in a bank paying 6% interest, how much interest will the deposit earn in 4 years using simple interest? So again, this is telling you to use the simple interest formula, I equals P times R times T. Just straightforward formula. You plug it into the formula. 500 is how much you deposit. We change our interest rate to a decimal, so that's 0.06, and they give you years this time. So we just plug in 4. Again, we only want the interest. So I don't want 620 as my answer. Okay, we want 120 because that's the amount of interest we're gaining. Now, if they ask for the total amount with interest, then it would be that 500 plus 120, which is the 620. All right, number 5. A new Apple computer costs $1,235. If you take out an add-on loan for 3 years at an annual interest rate of 12%, what will be your monthly payments? If you look in your book, and I went over this in the PowerPoints and the videos, there's a formula for add-on, okay? The first thing you have to do is you need to find your interest rate. And how do you find your interest? Well, you do it just like you've done for all the other ones. You take your 1235, you multiply it by your interest rate, and we're doing it for 3 years. So 1235 times 0.12 times 3 is going to give you an interest of this 444.6. Then you use your add-on monthly formula. You put in your P, you add your interest, and then we divide it by how many months in the year. So think about 3, okay? 3 years, how many months are in a year? There's 12 months. So you would do 3 times 12, which gives you 36 months. You take 1235, add the 444.6, and then divide that all by 36, and you'll get 46.66. All right, number 6, using the unpaid balance method, determine your credit card bill this month if the annual interest rate on your credit card is 16%. Your unpaid balance at the beginning of last month was $550. Since then, you have purchased a purse for $150 and sent a payment in for $200. Okay, there's a formula for the unpaid balance method in your book. I think this is in 7.2. The first thing you have to do again is find the amount of interest. And it tells you in your book that for time here, we're talking about a credit card bill this month. So time for the interest is going to be 1 out of 12. This is in your book, and I also believe I put it in your notes. Okay, some of you forgot this. So when I find out the interest, I'm going to write this down here. Interest is $550 times your rate, which is 0.16, times your 1 over 12. Okay, when we enter that in the calculator, I'm going to do 1 out of 12 first, then I'm going to multiply it by 0.16, then I'm going to multiply it by 550. When you do that in the calculator, you get your interest rate is 7.33. Okay, so that's where that number came from. And then if you look at your formulas, you have to take your unpaid beginning of the balance from last month, you add your interest in, you add any other purchases, okay, which is where the purse comes from, and then you subtract what you're paying, okay, any payments that you put in. So again, you take your monthly unpaid balance beginning of the last month, you add your interest in that you're owing, you add in any other payments that you have, okay, purchases. So this is the purse, and then you take away what payments that you've sent. Okay, so we do 550 plus 7.33 plus 150, and then subtract 200, and your final amount should be $507.30. The main thing is to remember this when you're finding the interest, use that 1 out of 12. Some of you guys just did 550 times 0.16, which is not going to give you the correct amount because we have to use our interest formula. All right, number 7, what would the final amount be of $650 compounded monthly at 6.5% for 3 years? So again, we're using compound formula, which is this P times 1 plus R over N to the NT. Your rate here is 6.5%, so that would be 0.065. We're dividing it by 12 because it's monthly, and then the 12 goes up here, and we're doing it for 3 years. So again, when you put this in the calculator, you're going to do 0.065 divided by 12. Then you add the 1. Then you raise it to the 36th power because 12 times 3 is 36. And then you multiply it, the last thing you do, by 650, and you'll get the 789.54. Okay. All right, and then the last one is another add-on. You have a new TV that costs $875. If you take out an add-on for 1.5 years at an annual interest rate of 13%, what will be your monthly payments? We use the add-on formula, which is this P plus I all over N. the first thing you have to do is find your interest rate. How did I find this? Okay, you take 875, you multiply it by 0.13, and then we're doing 1.5 years. Okay, so 875 times 0.13 times 1.5, and we get 170.625. So you take your P, which is your 875, you add your interest, and then how many months are in 1.5 years? Well, there's 12 months in 1 year, and there's 6 months in half a year. So 12 plus 6 gives you that 18 months. You take 875 plus 170.625 and divide that all by 18, and you get 58.09. So your quiz for this week is going to be just the same setup, okay? But the week from this week, I just graded on if you completed it or not, and then I told you guys which questions you missed. This week, though, I'm going to grade it on accuracy. So please make sure you guys look at this, know what you made a mistake on, and then follow these formulas and these question setups for the quiz. And hopefully everybody should ace it. Please email me if you have any questions.